welcome back to another episode of Grit Factor. I'm your host, Erin Jane Miller, and on today's show, we have Anuq Wilson, event specialist, choreographer, and co-owner of Shifters SA. Anuq, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Erin. Like, really, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Amazing to have you here.
Thank
I haven't
you.
seen you in a while.
I know. Last time we were dancing in odd places, but we're here now.
Fun times.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you on the show. I was just mentioning to someone else that, every single person that comes onto the show, it's all women that have been handpicked. And the reason why I say that is because there's something that I see in each and every one of them, and I see it in you as well. I see that grit factor. I see the ability to persevere. I see strength. I see fighter on the inside of you. I mean, we don't really see each other often, but I see you on social media. I see what you're posting. I see how you are grinding, how you are working, and making things happen for yourself and for others. And just your thoughts and your heart. And I love your,
Thank you.
I love your presence. So
thank you.
It's amazing to have you here. Thank you for taking time out. I think maybe just to get started, maybe just share it with the listeners, like where it all started. Maybe just give us a bit of your background.
Okay. So I try to make it as concise yesterday, but mostly my background stems from dancing.
Yeah.
But also academic. So I did study law for 3 years.
What?
I did.
I studied law for 1 year.
My mother was like, 1 more year. I was like, no.
Not going to happen.
No, I just looked at it and I was like, this is not something I'm actually going to end up doing. So fortunately, I had a mom, bless her soul, may she rest in peace, who supported me.
Amazing.
But she always said, like, look, I'm going to support you, but you can't sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Want me to explain you now?
Exactly.
So she's like, I'm giving you 1 year. So that was like 2009. And then I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to have to make it happen now. And then the following year, I got I was dancing because I was part of a crew. I mean, that started about 4 or 5 years prior to that.
You from Cape Town?
And I'm from Cape Town. Yes. Cape Town, which was blended.
There we go, in the house.
Yes. So, I was training in like a tiny studio in, Beacon Valley.
Oh, wow.
Beacon Valley? Yes, Portland's Indoor Center.
What?
I was doing my thing there. Thought I was doing my thing, but I had much to learn. And I started competing there, like just on a solo basis. Okay. And then after that, I joined a church, Shekinah Full Gospel Church in Beacon Valley. Yeah. And there I felt like I stepped out on a movie one day because I was at a youth conference. Yeah. And then everyone was like doing their thing. It was like rap battles, dance battles. And then like someone was like, when they feel that fire inside, I was like, is this what happens in movies? I'm like, I'm just going to go with it. And I jumped in the cypher and this guy came to me. I felt like I had been casted for You Got Served. Yeah. But anyway. And then he was like, look, come practice with us. And then I joined this crew. And that was when I was really introduced to the actual street dance culture. And that's when I started competing at SA Hip Hop Cup, African Hip Hop in Dabo with Emil from Black Noise.
Yes, those guys.
I looked up to those guys.
All of us.
So I entered all of their competitions with the crew. And then that was sort of what I was doing in tandem with studying. Okay. And then after 2009, I was like, I'm going to do this thing. So auditioned for a movie in Cape Town. I mean, it flopped, but here I am. Anyway. That's the back end of the story.
It got you moving,
yes, it did. So I auditioned for a movie in Cape Town. Then they flew us to Joburg and we had to be here for like 3 months shooting. And I was like, look, this place is not for me. I made the decision. I'm going to do the movie, go back to Cape Town. To what? I don't know. Yeah. But that was the thought. But while I was there, I was like auditioning for other stuff, like, because you're building networks when you're here, right? So you're learning and you're growing with other dancers. And they're like, oh, there's a thing here. There's a cast in here. So then you just go. And I was like, booking work left, right, and center in the space of like 2 weeks. Like that's a dream for any Cape Townian dancer because the work is so like minimal there. Yes. So I was like, maybe I have to think about this. And then on Christmas, I actually went back for Christmas and then I told my mom, I'm moving in 2 days. And she didn't talk to me that whole Christmas. Luckily, I ate my food. I ate the Christmas lunch first.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have.
No, it was not going to happen. And then she was like, okay. And then I booked my flight and I had a flight.
How old were you?
I was 23. Wow. Booked my flight. And then I was like, okay. So my cousin had a spot up here. She moved into a house and she gave me her lease.
Oh, wow.
And then I hustled. So, and then got an opportunity to be part of a road show at an agency. That was where the agency started creeping in.
Yes.
So I traveled with a national road show, also for dancing. Okay. And then that's sort of how I paid my rent while auditioning, while teaching.
Brilliant.
Got a teaching opportunity at Dance Web with Mandy Pollock and Craig Pollock. Bless them. They've really just paved the way for me as well. And that's how I got into competing again, solo capacity, competing overseas, won a world title there, which was quite cool. And then still hustling while doing
we all heard about you that back in the day, that time. And Kurt and Tia used to be like raving about you. We all heard about
it. And I had not even met them yet.
Oh, really?
So they said, I was like, who are these people? I'm like, yo, I'm set up already before
but we heard about you. You were
so that was like, Mandy and Craig is a very big part of my growth as well, because they gave me my first teaching opportunity. Quintus Jansen as well.
Yes.
I was teaching at Dance. What was it? There's a studio in Rosebank.
I remember it. Dance
Junction.
Dance Junction.
So they owned it at the time. I was also teaching there. And then after that, I got an opportunity to write a few episodes for Endemol and Step Up or Step Out season 3. So got that job through a referral as well. And then still competing. And then I got an opportunity to start judging. So I was judging the comps I was entering for about 2 or 3 years. And then I got headhunted by another agency where I got to do some TV work for a year.
That's incredible. And
then I was bored. I was like, the projects I was working on wasn't like...
Not challenging.
At first it was, I like a challenge. So if I don't feel like it's the same thing, then I'm like, okay, now it's time to move on. So then it's also just been so incredible, because with the minute I start feeling like that, a door opens
for something else.
But I'm always curious. I'm always open to be like, what next? And then that opportunity presents itself. So then I got offered a post at the agency I'm currently at, where I've really just completely grown over the space of like 5-6 years, and then still running my dance studio with my partner. So we train students on a Saturday and as well as in the week. So he's also choreographing. We choreograph teams together.
When do you guys sleep?
Somewhere in between.
That's a lot going on.
Well, at the moment, I'm a BUD at an agency. So there I'm running accounts across Coca-Cola, alcohol brands, doing brand activation launches.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's been fun. I'm sort of just
dabbling in everything.
But
that's cool. And I wanted to just touch on that and actually pick up on that point, because there comes a point where you can only dance for so long, right?
100%.
So the fact that you kind of lifted your head, looked at what other opportunities are there? How did that all come about for you? Was it just something that happened? You knew that I can't dance forever. I need to find something else. Or was it just something that kind of flowed naturally? And I'm saying it because I want you to kind of speak to that creative person that's out there, that's kind of like stuck in there. I can only be a singer. I'm going to be the next singer. Yes, we understand that, but is there maybe something else that's going to make you sustainable in the long term?
That's true. I think my mom's voice always played in the back of my mind. She was like, I know you love this dancing thing, but like there's always room for something else.
Sure.
So I'm not going to tell you what that is.
Yeah.
Whether you decide to grind and push, it might take you a little bit longer, but just decide and do that. So I think I had a little bit of that in the back of my mind, but I always knew that I just wasn't meant to do one thing.
Just one thing.
It could have been something completely different. It could have been, I don't know, something in athletics. I don't know. I can't run, but yeah. But that was always in the back of my mind, and the curiosity of entrepreneurship more than ever. So I think when I opened my studio, I built so many different connections. Like I would put studios, like showcases together, or I would do an event for the studio, and then people would be like, "Oh, you actually, you're really good at this."
Wow.
But while I'm doing that, I'm already got a foot in somewhere else. So I was like, maybe, but I think what really helped was doing that work in TV production when I was doing Step Up or Step Out. Because while I was doing there, I was honing presentation skills. So I'm like, there must be something I can do with this.
Wow.
So that was when I went back to the agency that I was on as an artist. I'd shown my boss. I was like, listen, I was actually doing this. And she was like, okay, so maybe you want to take a project on. Maybe you can make some extra money.
Yeah.
And that was where I started learning more of the account management skills, client service, thrown in on the deep end very much.
Wow.
And having to just figure it out. And that's what I love. It's like, I just want to see if I can do this thing by myself. So I think it's that curiosity, a little bit of my mom's voice in the back, but also the entrepreneurial spirit I had, and always seeing other ways in which I can have other ways of getting an income in. Yeah. So it's a little bit of both, because I know like, we're in a time now where if you pursue something so long, there's no way that door can't open.
Come on.
And I sometimes feel like, I ask myself this question, I'm like, did I sell out? And I look at all these dancers, I look at Buntley, and I'm like, geez, I was competing next to her, like doing stuff next to her. And I'm like, what if, but what comforts me.
See it like
but what comforts me is the fact that I know that if I did, it would have been fine. But at the same time, I have no regrets, because this has opened up so many other opportunities for me.
Yes.
From my network has grown, and you can't trade that. You can't.
Absolutely not.
There's no regrets there. So sometimes I do, but 90% of the time I'm like, I'm good. Like,
it's that inner artist in you that's like,
yes,
you know, that itch.
Clawing my way back. I'm finding my way back. So.
But it's amazing because you still have your studio and you still get, you know, you have that outlet of creativity.
Yes.
I mean, the creativity also obviously comes into play in eventing as well. But what are some of the challenges that you experience, you know, just in the event space? Must we set our alarm?
I might need to come back. I think it's the idea of live, because I'm in like live events. It's like a launch, or it's a product launch, or it's an activation, or it's like something that doesn't require you to like click rewind or like, oh, let's do that again. Like you have one shot.
Yeah.
And that coupled by that stress, it's a little bit addictive. It's a little bit, it's like that.
Urgency addicted.
It's like an abusive person that just like, you're like, they're going to change. And then when it comes together, you're like, oh, we're back together again. So I think the stressful thing is that.
Okay.
But I think it more than anything, it's taught me to be over prepared.
Sure.
Like it's taught me to hone my communication skills better. Okay. Because I I drive my team nuts. Like I'm like, what? Why? I want to know. Like
detail.
And I'm not one of those people that like, yes, I'm giving you a project, but I know what you're doing.
I know exactly.
So that's something that's also taught me to always be ready to know everything rather than know nothing.
Yeah.
And just to have fun. Like I never thought that this would be a creative space I would find joy in.
Yes.
You know, but the back end of it, like it excites me knowing that I thought something and I put it on paper and I was like, this is what it could look like. And someone's like, oh, that's great. And then like you literally see the picture,
come together.
like exactly how the thing looks. That's how it comes to life.
I love it.
So that even now I'm just like, I'm getting goosebumps because
I love that.
just to know that you were involved in that process, just how powerful a thought can be and how it can manifest into something that impacts somebody else's life, whether they were there by chance or whether they know you, or whether they stumbled across it like at an event or something, to know like, you created that space that somebody is experiencing or enjoying. Like you were a part of that. So that's the stressful part up front, but then the joy of seeing it come together is more rewarding than the stress itself. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess like, why would you sit back where you can just like go all in and see what comes? And I think it's like taking risk. And I guess that's what you did initially when you moved from Cape Town.
My word.
Like it was a risk.
Yeah.
Like who would have done that? Like you said, you had 1,000 rand, 1 month's rent. Here we go. Let's see what happens.
I was eating boiled eggs. I laugh about it now. But I mean, again, like the curiosity is like, I love it. I just pursue that all the time. Like, oh, what if? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Like, absolutely. And I think that's cool about, you know, creative people. Because you're not scared to take a risk. Like you're not scared to try stuff. Like if you know too much and you have too much academics behind you or backing you, it's like everything needs to be calculated. But sometimes you just have to jump in and see what comes out of it.
Definitely.
And so that's cool. And then just, back at home, what's happening there? You still got family at home? Are you ever connected back there?
It's a weird one. Like, I mean, my family, I have a tiny family, but we're not like, it's a family gathering type of family. Okay. Like we're always just like in our own world. Yeah. But I think that's just the background of how my family has always been. My mom passed in 2017. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was hard. Yeah. That was really hard. Sure. And then my brother moved to the UK with his family. So he's been there for like 4 years. My sister's still in Cape Town. So I don't really like my grandpa. So like if I go to Cape Town, it's just work. It's not like.
It's not.
Yeah. So I see friends. I see like family acquaintances often, but it's not like I have somewhere to go. Yeah. I mean, I went to see a neighbor of mine the other day whose father passed away, and I like literally parked opposite the house I used to live in, like where I grew up in. It was weird. Like seeing someone else come out the house. Like, so crazy. That and just, I keep in contact with my family. I definitely have more of a crazy story there, like the upbringing, single mom. Sure. But always the encouragement of having to work hard. I think that's how I showed up for my mom. Awesome. Because my brother and sister, they had their fair share of troubles that they're still fighting. Yeah. But it's brought us closer because I was to realize later in my life that there were things I was fighting that,
Sure.
you know, sometimes I felt a little bit self-righteous.
Sure.
But then later on, I was like, you know what? Trauma shows up differently with everybody.
Yeah.
And I think that's made us closer. We weren't as close as what we were. This sort of like brought us a bit more closer. But not a big family. Youngest of 3. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say I'm still young.
You are, girl.
And I've got an older sister, older brother. And my dad's got his own family because my parents were divorced before I could even probably walk. So they've, I mean, I don't really speak to them much, but I mean, there is a somewhat of a relationship. And cousins, I mean, cousins up here, but not really.
I guess once you get older, you know, you hang out, you don't like, when you go to Cape Town, I find this for myself as well. Before it used to be, I used to want to hang out with my family. I want to be there for long. I miss you guys so much. But now it's just like, guys, I got my own things going on.
And you got your own family.
I got work. I got my kids. 2 days, peace, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, like, there's other things that we need to.
Yes.
You hustling, you working, you building stuff. You know, and I guess you know that your family's their family's family.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But just with your mom, and how did you navigate that? Like, you said it was really tough.
That was very tough.
I remember that time, and I think it happened during that time. I remember you were heartbroken.
It was tough. Like my mom, because my brother and sister, I mean, they've unfortunately succumbed a lot of drug addiction, which they're fighting.
Sure.
You know, and I think because of that, my mom was my best friend. And like I told her everything, you know, like she was like my sister.
Wow.
Not only my mom, she was also my sister. So when that happened and she passed, I mean, she didn't have her story, like at least 2 to 3 years before she passed, she didn't pass well, you know, like her body literally gave in. And I was preparing for that already 2 years before, because I was flying in and out of Cape Town, because she was in the hospital, checking in. My brother and my sister were a little bit checked out. I mean, I don't blame them. Everybody deals with that type of pain differently. I have no right to judge how people deal with that. So I think I thought I was more mentally prepared. Yeah. And I wasn't. Wow. So when my mom passed, like I just switched off and I just did the funeral, did everything. And like 6 months later, it hit you. It hit me. I'm still dealing with it, but I'm dealing with it better. Okay. Did a lot of things I regretted. Like I don't think, I wouldn't say regret. I say yes and no, because it has made me a better person.
Yeah, you've learned from it.
And it's also taught me that grief shows up differently for different people. Yeah. You know, like if I didn't have dance and I didn't have work, I know it sounds cliche. If I didn't have those things, I would have. That was the only things that were really keeping me sane. And my partner, Rudy, I mean, we met during the time my mom passed. Okay. He's literally been like a rock for me. Because I went through some dark times.
Yeah, I think, you know, losing someone that close just changes you.
It does.
You never are the same again. I mean, I lost my dad a couple of years ago as well. And like, you're a different person. Death does that to you. And I can't explain it. It's just like, if you know, you know. Yeah. You know, before you're one way, but you see the world completely different when that happens. You can have to happen to anybody else, but when it's someone that is so close to you, it hits you really differently. Yeah. And so I get that, but and just keep working at it, girl. I know it's tough.
I'm only like last 2 years, I think. I keep saying that, but then like I realized, Jesus, like trauma, or should I say healing, is not a now thing. It's continuous. But like I'm on the bus, and that's what matters. Yeah. So I've also had to like go for therapy, counseling sessions, group counseling sessions, just to like, because I come from a family. I don't know if this is the same for you, but where they say "Jemitete is prati." Yeah. You know, so like you don't even feel like you can talk to your friends about the smallest things like that happened at home. So I think that I carried with me, because I actually didn't realize that I wasn't talking about what I was going through. Like the people who said, "Oh, come and talk to me." Like, I'm like, you don't want to bother people. Yeah. But then I realized that was something that I was actually taught to not talk about it. Yeah. You know, so I've had to unlearn a lot of things. And that's also assisted me in my growth. It was way beyond my mom's passing, because I realized it opened up so much in terms of what I've been through, because I thought, oh, I'm fine. Yeah. And then I realized, geez, again, trauma showed up very differently for me. And that's how it manifested in my life for the last 5 to 6 years. The last 2 years, I actually feel like I'm seeing a light.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well done for that. Yeah, it's a journey.
Yeah,
it really is. So I think just one more question that I was really curious about. There was one day I saw you almost like shouting the youngsters on Instagram. I was like, yes, Anuq, tell them.
What was I saying? I say a lot of weird things in my
You were
stories.
just talking about like no, guys, like something around about discipline and like showing up on time or something like that.
This is the one that came late today, but
you but you know what I mean. Like it's those ones that are constant doing these things.
Yeah,
I think it was just you were just sick and tired of nonsense that was happening in the industry. I don't know if you were venting or if you were choreographing that time.
Probably both.
But like, what are your thoughts around the young ones coming up? Advice for them.
I'm going to be completely honest. Like Gen Z, like continues to like
baffle me.
I'm like, it's like because you would see another child or a teenager, and you would ask yourself later in life, you're like, was I like that? Or like, did I act like? I just don't get it. But for me, it's more. I honestly think it's our generation.
Yeah.
Because we came from a generation of like how things were done a certain way.
Correct.
And it's like everybody went to the same training academy because all of us were raised the same.
Exactly.
But there's a certain decorum, right? The way that you speak to your parents, the way that the way that you treat or cement yourself in something that you want to be good at. Now we're in a time where everyone's just like, oh, I'm just going to figure this thing out until I'm bored about it. But I couldn't do that. Like, if you're going to go and do dancing, that's going to be the thing that because my mother's physically paying for those classes. So it's like dealing with the different dynamic of how parenting has changed the way kids are.
Yeah.
Blows my mind because I'm just like, I'm also part of that problem, because now you want to raise your kids better. You want to give them more opportunities. You don't want to be hard on them.
Struggle like you did.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to be hard on them. Yeah. Because I see how that shows up in the workplace for me as well. Okay. Because I have to be so careful with what I say. Because I don't really have, I don't have a filter. Also my face, I might not be talking, but the subtitles are here. Like it's here. Like I can't hide it. Yeah. I wouldn't change that about myself either because it's who I am. Yes. I'm authentically showing up the way that I'm supposed to. But I'm just like, how it shows up, how that shows up in the workplace is shocking. Like just having this no respect for your leader or like talking to them like they're your friend or like showing up when you feel like it. Or like, oh, Mrs. Piff, I owe you this.
Something.
You're earning a salary. You must do what you're supposed to do.
Do what you need to do,
So it's those things coupled by the lack of respect for yourself and how you show up. But I'm just like, I'm shocked. All the time, I'm shocked. Even in the studio, like, I'm just like, well, I was never like this.
Yeah.
So now my kids come and I'm like, okay, I'll put the music on. And they're just like, they don't practice. I've sent my students home.
Okay.
Like, I'm like, oh, you here?
Yeah.
Call your mother back. Call your mother.
Let her take you home.
Like, go have lunch, go do something because don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Don't waste your mom's time. Don't waste your own time. Don't disrespect me. Sure. I've done that. Like I've had my students like looking at me and like, but it's just like you think, yes, it's a dancing thing, but it's still a discipline.
There's so much more. Yeah.
You have to get to class on time. You have to practice. You have to,
And those are all things that serve you in your future when you're older.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. Like you said, it's not just the dance clothes. You might think it is, but it's the thing that you're learning in the process and while you're doing this and how you show up here is how you're going to show up everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's only so much a teacher can do because everything starts at home. So I will have certain talks even with parents. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was a mix of all of that. Yeah. What I'm seeing in the youth that are coming into the industry. And I'm just like, what are we teaching them?
Sure.
And that's what shocked me the most. And I think it's a generation. I genuinely think now I've surmised that it's a generational thing.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
Yeah.
But what would you suggest to them? Like, just like key pointers, like if you could say to them, if we soft parent them, what would we say to them? Because even though you grew up a certain way, there are still principles of principles.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's more about giving something a chance.
Okay.
Like I cannot tell you how many people I've heard. Oh, now you're a rapper now. Oh, you're now a singer. Oh no, you're not doing that. Oh, you're not.
you.
But it's been like a year. Like, what do you expect?
Give
Like,
it a minute. Yeah.
if you like think of like, I always try to like reference things with like principles that work. Like that idea of working 7 years for something, like you would read that in the Bible. I'm just like, 7 years, guys. 7 years goes by so quickly.
Thank you.
But it's also not that long.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm just like, that's the advice I would give someone. Like, in essence, the reason and why you want to do it is going to have to be the reason
Motivate
why you keep doing it.
Exactly.
Like, why do you wake up? Okay, today I'm going to decide I'm going to be a TV personality. Okay, you do know that it's going to take some time, right?
Yeah.
So it's that.
Yeah.
Dedicating time and patience to a craft for it to be something of mastery.
So good.
And I mean, I read something the other day that said, you need to be willing to be a fool or be looked at like you are crazy or that you are foolish before you actually hone that skill.
Sure.
I mean, every successful person, Michael Jackson did not wake up and decide. Maybe he did come out
moonwalk.
maybe. But I mean, even for him, like years and years and years of practice. You don't just see someone on stage and then you only see the end product. You don't know what it took for them to get there. So now that's the advice I would give. Like, give it a chance. Give it 3 years.
Yeah.
You know, but not like wake up and decide how you feel and then try. And because then you're frustrated because it's not working out.
Yeah.
But who's the problem? You know? And those are the questions that they are not asking themselves. They just think, oh no, it's because no, that person didn't show up. Or I didn't. Like, there's no accountability for the choices or the path that you are taking.
Sure.
Sometimes that also needs to happen.
Yes.
Like, I write stuff down. I'm just like, okay, how long? And I'm like, when I go back and I say, what did I do to not get there?
Sure.
And then the answers come. But now you're just like, no, it's because I didn't have a car. I couldn't get to the audition.
Excuses.
No, it's because I couldn't, like, guys, I was walking in the streets of Breathe.
Come on now.
Taking a taxi. You know, something's got to give.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I really love that. Anuq, our time is up. We could chat forever. I really just love the way you think and your perspective.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for being just so open and sharing that advice with our listeners. Before you go, maybe just share where people can find you and just follow your journey and what you're doing.
So I'm on Instagram, a nuclear bomb. That's very cheesy. A B-boy gave me that name, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I was quite honored. Nuclear bomb on Instagram, Anuq Wilson on Facebook, and you'll see me complaining or doing something on Instagram stories or whatever. Amazing. But that's predominantly where you'll find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. It was great to have you on the show. And all the best for everything else that you're busy with.
You too, Miss South Africa.
Yes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to follow me on social media for any updates, behind the scenes content, and so much more. You can find me on Instagram at ErinJaneMiller08, on Facebook as Erin Jane Miller, and on TikTok at Erin Jane Miller.